Howdy, howdy, and good afternoon to you all on this beautiful hump day. Well, let's get right to it. I told you I was going to start this major surgery on the F102, and I'm going to show you what I have done. Now, remember, we're going to cut the humps off the tail to make it cylindrical, if I'm saying that right, to conform to the YF model. All right, and those of you that haven't joined me here or forget or whatever, I'm building the very first one. All right, the YF102. Now there were like 5 or 7 of them that they built, but I'm doing the first one that they ever built. Okay. Now, what we've done is we've cut one of the humps off right here on the tail. And basically what I used was a panel line cutter. I find the damn thing. What did I do with it? There it is. This is what I used. This is my old trusty. It's been with me for a good long time. It's razor sharp, and I keep it that way. And does a fine job. So I'm going to show you what I've done. Now, let's back up a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the doublers. All right, there's doublers, as you can see, on the inside, both sides. Now, there's 2 functions of the doubler. Number 1, to hold structural integrity for the bottom around to the top of the fuselage on the rear section. So by putting them doublers in there on the inside, that's what that does, is it holds structural integrity from the bottom to the top. So we don't have the bottom piece doing this or breaking off, falling off, whatever. That's its number 1 function. Its second function is to hold the flush patch in place, which I have put the flush patch in place and glued it, as you can see, and I've got plenty of tape to help hold the structural integrity of this tail so it doesn't warp, bend out of shape, blah blah blah. But the doublers do all the work, basically. I mean, I can take this tape off and be just fine, to be honest. But so what we done is we took this hump off right here. This big, nasty looking hump that they put on the newer or later models. And if you look down it, you can see that we've done that. Now we've got a cylindrical shape here that the YFs had. Hello, everybody. Now, tomorrow, I'll go more in depth, tomorrow morning, on how to cut this off. And I will be using my panel line scriber. It works perfectly as a cutter. You make several passes through it, and it goes all the way through it. You just don't want to cut into your doubler. If you cut into your doubler, oops, you know. So it's a very slow process. So basically, I just wanted to show you guys today what I've accomplished. The doublers are in and glued. You can see that. Now these fuselage halves will still come apart. And you don't want to wrap the doubler all the way and around there and glue that together. You don't want that. Alright, so you need 1 doubler on each side of the fuselage, just like I've got. And then the flush patch that goes in the hole where I have cut off the piece right here. See, it used to go here. So you cut that out, and then you put your doubler in. And as you can see, it's pretty damn smooth looking to begin with. Now when it's all said and done and I've got all this patched in, what we'll do is we'll fill, sand and fill until this is completely smooth. And then I'm going to wrap it in metal. For those of you that don't know what I'm going to do here, I'm going to wrap this whole thing in metal. And because your first YF was that way, there was no paint on it. It was all bare metal. So this, like I said, I've been working all morning on this. And I have to say that I was busy from Thursday until late Sunday with the yard sale. And then when all that was over, then my daughter brought my grandson over and I watched him for a couple of days. Me and my wife watched him for a couple of days. So this is the only free time I've had. But now that he's gone home, we're starting to get a little more done. So I've done all this morning. I've glued the doublers in and the flush patch. Now you can see the cylindrical shape that it's taken. We're going to cut this other nasty hump off tomorrow. And I will do that live on camera tomorrow and show you guys exactly how it's done for those of you following this build, and maybe you want to convert yours into the YF, and this is how you do it. Panel line scriber, very sharp. That's my tool. That's my cutter. I don't use any nasty saws that create a bunch of dust and overcut, undercut, and whatever. This is perfect. This is your tool. And I'll show you that tomorrow. Now tomorrow's going to get a little boring and da-da-da-da because I'm going to be sitting here with the camera pointed down toward the workbench and showing you what I'm doing. So it's going to be slow. You're going to, that's just how it goes. But we're aiming tomorrow to show you how to get to this point right here. Now, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Hello, Terry and Tony and the rest of you. I can't really see who else. Can't hardly see my messages. Anyway, I'll get to your messages as soon as I get off here. And another thing I wanted to mention is the cockpit. And I made a joke about in one of my last posts about this. Why do they call it a cockpit? And it's a joke between pilots. And well, because there's usually a dick flying it, right? Cockpit, dick flying it. There you go. So there's your answer. Anyway, putting the cockpit in, they have you, after you've got the two halves together, putting it up from underneath and then sliding it in. All right? Well, there's plenty of room to do that, but here's the thing. It don't fit real good. So before I started this surgery, I went ahead and made sure I put the fuselage halves together. And I went ahead and made sure that all that slipped in nice, and I had to make some adjustments, do a little sanding, filing, to get that cockpit to go in there. My dog is sick, that's what you're hearing. He's coughing. Anyway, so it's not anything major. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. If you're going to build one of these, it isn't a great fit. Alright, so just be aware that the cockpit needs a little work to fit in there. So I think that's all I wanted to show you today. I'm going to show you one more time that flush patch. And in the flush patch, I had to apply a little heat to it because I think that's 30 thousandths is what I'm using there. Yeah. Now, hold on a second. Let me make sure. It's 40 thousandths. 40 thousandths styrene. The doubler is 20 thousandths. Okay, so the doubler is 20 thousandths styrene, and you can buy these in a pack. Okay, for very little to nothing at Hobby Lobby. So, the doubler is the 40 thousandths. It's twice as thick. It's harder to bend and get your shape. So what I done was I cut the panel or the patch close to the size that I needed, real close. And then I applied a little heat to it and I bent it around my little tool here. And applied a little more heat. And you just keep applying a little bit of heat to it and bend it until you get that shape. Once you get that shape, then you can start cutting and trimming it in without gluing. Cutting and trimming it in until it fits perfectly. And then you can glue it. Now, I use just regular old tube glue, but you can use whatever suits your fancy. Hello, Stephen, Robert. So anyway, we'll go more in depth with this thing tomorrow. I'll show you how to cut this other hump off of here. And like I said, it's going to be slow going. It might get a little boring at times, but if you're really interested in seeing this process, tune in tomorrow, and we'll do this live on camera. All right? So that's what I wanted to show you today. And bye-bye to the nasty hump. And it's hump day. This is why it's hump day right here. When I was younger, it meant something else. All right. But anyway, I'm glad y'all joined in, and we'll see you sometime tomorrow morning. Cheers.